Hey guys, it's Marie and welcome back to my channel. Like I've mentioned before, I'm going to be trying to do different cards using the same stamp set or craft item. I've already done these two cards with the stamp set from Unity. This is their Time to Refresh stamp set, and it's got these tropical images with a lot of sentiments, and I just think it's a really great stamp set. So what I'm going to do today is take my card base and I'm taping it down on the sides, and I'm going to go ahead and ink blend a sunset scene. Now there is a lot of ink blending in this video, so I've gone ahead and sped it up just so that we can move along. But I'm using my distress inks and my blending tools, and first thing I'm going to do is get some blue down here. This is going to be my ocean, and I'm just going to blend out these colors. So when I'm ink blending, what I like to do is start with my lightest colors and then gradually add in darker colors, and that just helps me kind of build up some of that saturation on my paper so that I can get a really nice blend. Once you get a lot of ink on there, it's actually going to move better on the paper. You're going to get it to blend nicely, so it just takes time to get a lot of ink on your paper and get that ink blending together and moving. So I'm using, like I said, my distress inks. I'm just gradually adding my lighter colors and going to my dark ones. Now I'm adding in some squeezed lemonade. This is the lightest yellow in distress ink. Well, sort of the lightest, brightest yellow. So I'm adding that to my sky. This is going to look like a tropical sunset, and I'm leaving a circle of just white paper there, and that's supposed to look like the sun. That's going to be really bright once I get some darker colors in on my ink blending. Now I just did another video that should be coming up soon, and I'm talking a little bit more about adding contrast into your coloring and your ink blending, which is something that I'm learning in my crafting, is that if you want the light spots to look really bright, you add some darker colors, and that contrast will help it to really pop. So I'm learning that in my own crafting. I tend to stay away from bright colors, but I think I really need to branch out and try some different techniques and some different styles, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be trying, like I said, to use one stamp set or a craft item in multiple videos in different ways to just kind of broaden my creativity and also give you guys more ideas. I really think a small stash is great because it forces you to use more of your stuff and use them in different ways. Anyway, so I'm taking some darker colors here, some orange. I'm going to make that sky a little bit darker and just keep that area for the sun bright in the background. I'm actually coming in with some red now. This is Candied Apple, and I'm adding it just on the outside, the edges of my my sky, and you can see I'm getting a lot of ink on my paper now, so that ink is actually blending so much easier. I don't have to work as hard to get it to blend into the paper and into the other ink, because that ink is so saturated, it's just moving a lot easier. Now this is an A2 size card panel. It's 5.5 by 4.25. I'm going to cut that down and add it to an A10 size card, which is roughly 9 inches by 4 inches. And when I say an A2 size card, this is the whole piece. So you would cut an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in half and then score it at 5.5 and fold it in half, and then you have your A2 size card. I hope I'm not confusing you, but anyway, it's half of an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. That's what I'm working on right now. I'm adding some more blue on the edges of the ocean. I'm just really making that darker, and it's really going to add to the contrast of my scene. I'm making the edges darker, and then it's lighter in the middle just to make it look like the sun is really bright right there. It's shining and it's setting over this tropical ocean. Now you can go ahead and mask off a line for the horizon, so you have a straight line that that separates the sky from the sea if you wanted to do it that way, but I'm just doing it really loose and freehand and just adding color with my ink blender. So I'm going to go ahead and add some water now. Just splatter on some water, and distress inks are reactive with water, so once you put some splatters on there, it's going to kind of bleach those areas and make it look really cool. Gonna give it some spots, some texture, and I'm trying to do this with my mini mister, but it's empty and I'm too lazy to go to the sink and fill it up. So what I do here is I take my aqua pigment brush. This is a water brush from Brutus Monroe. I just squirt some off to the side, pick it up with my brush, and just splatter it on that way. These brushes work great for adding splatters, and I like to add splatters to a lot of my projects. I also like to add shine in different things, and they work great for that. So I'm just splattering it on my water, giving it more texture, giving it more of a watery feel. And then I'm going to let it dry. I added a cloth to the sky because I wanted this to be on the water. I didn't want it to get into the sky, so I'm just kind of gently masking that off so that it only stays on my ocean. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and do some more things to this card. So now that I have my background all ink blended, I'm going to do some stamping, and I'm really only going to use one stamp from this stamp set. It's this palm leaf, and I want to make it look like a silhouette of palm branches in our scene. So I'm using my Versafine black ink. This is a pigment ink, so it's going to be really crisp and dark, and that's exactly what I want. And these Unity rubber stamps, they stamp really well. You don't really need a MISTI at all. It's just a stamp block, and they give you a great impression. So I didn't have to worry about fitting this card panel into my MISTI. I can just add it to my stamp block, go ahead and press it down really well, and I'm going to get a great impression. So I'm going to add some of these leaves to the top of my scene, kind of coming in to our sunset, and I want to kind of leave that sun open, so I'm stamping my leaves around it, and it's just giving it a really great silhouette. And I think the black really makes the rest of the colors pop, and it gives you just this really tropical feel. So even if you use 1 or 2 stamps from a stamp set and ink blend a background or something, you can still get some really great cards. So honestly, with this card, all I really used was ink and a stamp, and I will add a sentiment at the end with some dies, but minimal supplies here, and I think anyone can really do this. So I've taken it off my mat, I've taken the tape off, and I've trimmed it down so it's a long and skinny panel. I got some ink smudges there with my fingers, and working with this much ink, it's bound to happen. So you just take a sand eraser. I've got a mono sand eraser, and I just erased away those ink smudges. So of course, since it's one of my cards, I need some kind of sparkle somewhere. So I'm taking some of this Craft Perfect glitter cardstock. This is Welsh gold, and I'm just going to cut a few strips. And I'm doing that so I can add it to the edges of my card, give it sort of a glittery border. And I think that gold glitter really adds to the sunset feel of this tropical card. So I'm just going to add it to the back of my card. Now it's not long enough to go the whole length, but I'm just going to kind of piece together 2 strips of this glitter cardstock. And since there's so much texture going on with that glitter, you're not even going to see where one piece stops and the other piece starts. It's just going to kind of blend together. So I'm just going to add that there, line it up, adhere it down, and then I'll trim it off with my scissors. And I've done that with both sides, so I've got that glitter border on both sides of my panel, my scene. And I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that down to my card base. Now these are my Altenew bold caps alphabet dies, and I actually paused this card, waited for a few days for these to come in the mail because I knew I just needed them for the sentiment on this card. I just knew in my head I wanted it to look this way. So I've cut these out of black cardstock. I just cut the word relax, and I'm going to put that right on top of my card front. And I think the black sentiment with those black palm leaves really make the rest of the colors pop. And I'm just kind of mapping them out here where I want them to go. I'm going to make sure that they're adhered down straight by using my ruler. And I'm going to shout out to Linda Israel. If anyone follows her, this is actually her ruler. And she left it at my house once when we were crafting, and I never gave it back. So I'll link to her down below if you want to go check out her channel. She is amazing to watch as well. So that finishes the card. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, post them down below. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.